Hi, today we're going to be doing lesson 12, session 3, adding with mixed numbers. Today we'll use the strategies we've learned to add fraction to now add mixed numbers. We're going to be working in our Ready Classroom Math Workbook. We'll be on pages 237 through 242 today. So go ahead and take out your Ready Classroom Math Workbook and turn to page 237. Now, before we begin, I just want to do a quick little reminder on how we add fractions with uncommon denominators. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write our equation in sandwich formation. That means if we originally have it written side to side, we're going to write it one on top of the other. Then we're going to find the lowest common denominator or the lowest common multiple. To do that, we're going to find a number that a multiple of both denominators from each of the fractions we're trying to add so that we have common denominators so we can add them together. After we find our common denominator, we're going to go ahead and make equivalent fractions. So in this case, 3/12 is equivalent to 1/4 and 2/12 is equivalent to 1/6. But both of these we can now add together because they have a common denominator. The denominator is the same. Finally, we're going to add, after we've made our equivalent fractions, we're going to add the equivalent fractions, keeping the same denominator and adding the numerators. So we'll add the 3 and the 2 together to get 5. So in this case, 1/4 plus 1/6 equals 5/12. So that is how we add fractions with uncommon denominators. Now, the steps are going to be almost virtually the same for adding fractions with uncommon denominators that are mixed numbers. Remember that a mixed number, let's go back to that, our definite fraction vocabulary. A mixed number is a number with a whole number part and a fractional part. So for example, 2 and 3/5. So now let's go ahead and go that we've done that quick little reminder. We're going to go to page 237 in our math workbook. We're going to go ahead and read the first problem. So the first problem says, Jenna spent 1 2/3 hours mowing the backyard. After taking a break, she spent 3/4 of an hour mowing the front yard. How many hours did she spend mowing the whole yard? So what is this problem talking about? What is it that is happening in this problem? And we have Jenna who's mowing. She's mowing the lawn. That means she's making sure that she's cutting the lawn, okay? So what is it that we're trying to find out? What is it that we need to solve? We need to find out how many hours she spent mowing the whole yard. Not just the backyard, but the backyard and the front yard combined. So we need to know what is the important information. And in this case, we know that she spent 1 2/3 hours mowing the backyard and 3/4 of an hour mowing the front yard. So to solve this, we're going to follow the same steps, but the only thing that's a little bit different is we have this whole number 1. So we're going to talk about that. So the first thing we do is we need to, well, actually, I changed my mind. I want you to pause the video. I want you to try and solve it on your own. I want to see if you can challenge yourself to figure out how to do this problem without my help first. After you're done, unpause the video and then watch how I do it and see if you came up with the same solution that I did, or if maybe you did it a different way. Okay, so if I were going to solve the video, if I were going to solve this problem, here's what I would do. So first I would write it into fraction form. So I have 1 2/3 plus 3/4. So I wrote it into sandwich form because now I need to solve I can now add it more easily. Now, here's the thing that we're going to do for now. For now, we're kind of going to ignore this whole number and we're just going to deal with the parts. But we cannot forget about the parts. So we need to make sure we add that back in at the end. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the lowest common denominator between 3, or the lowest common multiple between 3 and 4. So we're going to draw our 3 and we're going to draw our 4. So multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. I like to do 5 just to make sure that we go all the way out. Our multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12. And we know we can stop there because we can stop as soon as we find a common multiple. So a common multiple of those 3 and 4 is 12. And I also would like to recognize that if we multiplied 3 times 4, we would also get 12. So just a side note to remember. So our common multiple is 12. So now, before I even forget, I'm going to go ahead. Actually, I'm not going to do it just yet. I will not forget it, I promise. Maybe I'm going to highlight it just so I can remember to not forget about it. Okay, now after we found our lowest common multiple, we're going to go ahead and make equivalent fractions. So remember, to make our equivalent fractions, we need to see what we multiply the numerator and the denominator by or starting with the denominator, what do we multiply 3 by to get 12? We multiply it by 4. So therefore, we're also going to multiply the numerator by 4 because we always multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same amount. So 2 times 4 is 8. Then, what do we multiply 4 by to get 12? We multiply it by 3. So we need to make our numerator also multiply it by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Here's now where I would put that extra step. So before, we would have just added those two fractions together. But I'm going to go ahead and bring over that 1, all right? Because this 2/3 is not the whole fraction. The mixed number is 1 and 2/3. So this 1 stays the same. It's still a whole. So all we need to do is just move the whole over because the whole is not going to affect the fractional part. So now when we add this all together, we're going to add our two numerators. 8 plus 9 is 17, and then 12 is our denominator. So we're going to have 17 twelfths, and then we have our 1, because 1 plus 0, there's no whole number with 9 twelfths, is going to give us an answer of 1 and 17 twelfths. But something's funny about that 17 twelfths. What do we see that is funny? That's right. 17 twelfths is an improper fraction. An improper fraction is when you have your numerator is bigger than your denominator. If you have an improper fraction, that means that it's almost like in powers of 10 when you have more, when you have to regroup because you can't have 10. It's kind of the same idea. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to say, I know that this 17 twelfths can be written another way. So we're going to keep the 1 whole here. And then we're going to add to it. We're going to take this 17 twelfths, and we're going to take 12 of those twelfths and separate it from the 12 of the twelfths from the 17 twelfths. So 12 twelfths plus 5 twelfths. Because 12 twelfths plus 5 twelfths is 17 twelfths. Would you agree? Now we know 12 twelfths is the same as 1 whole. So when we do all of that, we can add together our original 1 whole, our regrouped 1 whole, and then our leftover part. So our final result is 2 and 5 twelfths. Because 17 twelfths is the same as 1 and 5 twelfths, or 12 twelfths plus 5 twelfths. We'll keep working on it, but I wanted to give you just an overview. So did you come up with the same solution I did? Maybe you just got to this step, which is totally fine. It wasn't a wrong answer. This just took it to the next step. So the answer is she spent 2 and 5 twelfths hours mowing the lawn. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next page, to page 238. Now on page 238, it says the same problem that we just solved. Now it says here, you can picture the fractions in the problem using models. The shaded parts represent the time spent in the backyard, 1 2/3 hours, and the front yard, 3/4 of an hour. So here is the backyard, here is the front yard. Now, the sections need to be divided into same size parts to add. So if we add these dashed lines down below, we use the dashed lines to divide the fraction models into 12 equal parts because we know that the lowest common multiple is 12. So when we break it into 12 equal parts, each of these smaller boxes, we still have our one whole. And then here we have 8/12. So this is 1 8/12. And then over here, when we add in our dashed lines to turn this into twelfths, we have 9/12. So then all we need to do is add those two together to find out the total amount. We can also use a number line to add fractions. The number line is divided first into thirds and then into twelfths, with a point at 1 2/3. So if we start at 1 2/3, we're going to start with the whole number. And then we're going to add on the additional part that we are adding to 1 2/3. So in order to add on, we need to find that common multiple. So we know that the common multiple is 12. So what we do is we go, okay, so 1/4 is the same as 3/12. And so, but we're adding not 1/4, we're really adding 3/4. But we're gonna add 1/4 3 times. And so we're going to go up by 3/12. So when we hop, we go up 1, 2, 3. This is plus 1/4 or 3/12. And then again, plus 1/4, and then plus 1/4 to get to our final answer of, I have to remember what the final answer was, 2 5/12. And if we're not sure, we can always count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/12. 2 5/12. So we jumped a total of 9/12. Remember that 9/12 is the same as 3/4. They're equivalent fractions. All right, let's go ahead and move over to connect it. It says, look at the models on the previous page. What is a common denominator of 1 2/3 and 1 3/4? And as we worked below, in both the picture it, the model it, and the example we did as a class, we saw that the common denominator was 12. You can find this common denominator without a model. Write a multiplication equation that shows how the denominators of 3 and 4 are related to 12. So if we wanted to, as I mentioned earlier, we know that 3 times 4 equals 12. So sometimes the lowest common multiple is simply just multiplying the two denominators times each other to find a common denominator. You won't always use that method, but it is a method that can be used. For number 3, use this common denominator to find equivalent fractions for 1 2/3 and 3/4. So 1 2/3, what do we multiply 3 times to get 12? We multiply 3 times 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. And then what do we multiply 4 times to get 12? That's right, we multiply it times 3. So then if we multiply our numerator times 3, 3 times 3 is 9. So then our answer would be 1 17/12. Number 4 says, because that 17 comes from adding the 8 and the 9. Sorry about that. The fractional part of the mixed number in problem 3 is more than 1. meaning this 17/12 is greater than 1. How could you rewrite the mixed number so that its fractional part is less than 1? So remember, we could do this. We could take the 17/12, and that really equals 12/12 plus 5/12. Because remember, we take away 12 is how many are in one whole. And so if we take 12 away, that means we're taking away one whole. And then the remaining part is this amount here. So we could rewrite 17/12 as 1 and 5/12. But then don't forget, we still have this whole number here. So we need to go ahead and add, or this whole number here. So we're going to add plus that one whole. So our final answer is, how many hours did Jenna spend mowing the whole yard? She spent 2 and 5/12 hours mowing the whole yard. So how is it that we add mixed numbers? What we do is we rewrite the fraction, or I'm going to say the fractional part. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so it's easier for you to see. So we're going to rewrite the fractional part with a common denominator. Then there we go. Then we add the fractional parts. Then we add the wholes. Or the whole numbers. And we regroup if necessary. So again, we rewrite the fractional part with a common denominator, meaning we could also, here we could write, we make equivalent fractions. Then we add the fractional parts, and then we add the whole numbers, and we regroup if needed. So here it says, look back at your try it strategies by classmates and picture it and model it. Which models or strategies do you like best for adding with mixed numbers? So your choices are, let's just call this the standard method. We have the bar, we call this the, I don't know, we'll call this the area model. We'll go with area model. We have the number line. So you can either do the standard method, which is what we did here. You can say the area model or the number line. So when adding mixed numbers, the strategy I like best is because. So I want you to tell me, what is the strategy you like best and why? Go ahead and pause the video, finish answering that, and then we'll move on. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to page 240. On page 240, it says, what is the sum of 1 and 1/6 plus 2 and 3/8? Show your work. So if you think you can do this on your own, go ahead and pause the video. Otherwise, if you would like to watch me do one more before you do the rest on your own, then go ahead and stick with me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works. So what you're going to do is you're first going to write this in sandwich formation. 1 1/6 plus 2 3/8. Next, you're going to find the lowest common multiple of 6 and 8. So over here, I like to give myself room to work. So over here, you're going to write the multiples of 6. So we have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. The multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 24, and I can stop there because I can see that 6 and 8 both have a multiple of 24. So I'm going to, for now, leave my whole numbers alone, and I'm just going to worry about making the 1/6 and 3/8 into into equivalent fractions. So what do I multiply 6 by to get 24? I multiply it times 4. So I'm going to multiply my 1 times 4 as well. 1 times 4 is 4. And then for my 8, what do I multiply my 8 by to get 24? I multiply my 8 by 3. 8 times 3 is 24. I also multiply my numerator times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Then I'm going to bring over my whole numbers. So I'm going to have my 1 and my 2. Remember, my whole numbers didn't change. The only thing that changed was adding those equivalent fractions. So now I'm going to add it all together. So I'm going to add my 2 numerators. 9 plus 4 is 13. So I have 13 24ths. And then I'm going to add, and then I'm going to add my 1 and my 2 because I still have to add those wholes. 1 plus 2 is 3. So the answer is 3 and 13 24ths. Okay, so what I would like for you to do is you're going to do numbers 8 and 9 on your own. Number 8 says Cameron has 4 3/4 pounds of raspberries, 2 1/8 pounds of blueberries, and 1/2 of a pound of blackberries to make a fruit salad. How many pounds of fruit does Cameron have in all? Show your work. So if I were you, there's actually a common denominator for 4, 8, and 2. So go ahead and add them all at the same time. The problem won't be any different. It will just be a little harder because you're adding 3 numbers instead of just adding 2. But you can still do it. It will still work the same way. And then finally, what is the value of the expression 5 3/5 plus 4 1/15? Again, you're going to write it in sandwich formation. As long as this is the method that it is your best method. And then you're going to find a common denominator and then do the problem all the way out. If you have any questions, you can always email your teacher. Otherwise, you're going to go ahead and do the green pages in the math workbook when you are done with this page. And then if you have any questions, like I said, email your teacher. Otherwise, I will see you next time.